discussing in terms of the terror that they produce in individuals and in whole communities.
Thank you. Thank you all for all our witnesses. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you very much. Chair recognizes the gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Malinowski, for 5 minutes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, for holding this hearing today. Thank you to our witnesses. I'm sure we all wish we weren't having to talk about this, but it's important that we are. We're seeing a staggering increase in the number of domestic bombings in the United States. In 2020, the number skyrocketed by 71%. In the first few months of this year alone, we've seen an unprecedented wave of 57 improvised explosive device threats, or IED threats, against institutions like our historically Black colleges and universities and places of worship more generally. We can talk about the root causes, and we've done that in this committee and elsewhere, the rise of domestic extremism and generally the role that social media companies play in amplifying and recommending violent extremist content. But we're here today to ensure that as we deal with those root causes, we're also acting to protect the potential targets of these attacks. We have to do more to help our state and local communities and governments and others that serve on the front lines with the resources that they need to identify and protect institutions most likely to be targeted. That's why I recently introduced, and the committee unanimously supported, the Bipartisan Bombing Prevention Act, a bill that formally authorizes the Office of Bombing Prevention, or OBP, to provide counter-IED training and guidance to targeted organizations, and working with federal partners like FEMA to administer grants to those institutions that would be most likely to be attacked. I know since January, OBP has been in contact with over 100 historically Black colleges and universities, as well as FBI and local law enforcement, offering their expertise and support. So I wanted to ask Reverend Manning and Mr. Hudson, a part of OBP's mission is coordinating a comprehensive national counter-IED strategy. And I wonder if you could speak to the importance of having that kind of holistic and strategic approach to bomb prevention.
Well, I would think that it would definitely be advantageous. From a connectional AME church perspective, it would help in making sure that all the churches across the United States and dare I say the world are have the most recent information, and I think that would help immensely.
I echo Reverend Manning's sentiments from the colleges and universities side, definitely having access, full access to all that information at the same time will be very beneficial. It also aligns with the multi-tiered approach that is necessary to combat this issue. You have to look at it from all levels, and having that type of coordination and that dissemination of information amongst colleges and universities so we can review best practices, for instance, would be most beneficial.
Thank you. And say a little bit about the support and outreach that you have received from the federal government along those lines, and whether you think there's room to grow and strengthen that collaboration.
Well, we are excited about the collaboration and the assistance we have received from the federal government, just from, again, the opportunities that are being provided for funding and the ability to increase the pool of those funds, the availability of those funds, and again, the interaction with the funding agencies. So those things are very important, and we would just like for that to not only continue to be enhanced, but to be enhanced, and again, allow for more universities to really improve and increase their capacity. I will say, for Jackson State, and this is true for most HBCUs, without that federal support, it will be difficult for us to meet the moment, if you will, and for us to build our capacity to properly respond to these ever-increasing threats. This is not the last time this will happen. these things will continue to happen. History often repeats itself. The assistance of the federal government is going to be necessary to allow us to meet those threats and really build our capacity in doing so.
Well, I'm afraid you're right, and we will do whatever we can to help. Thank you so much, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Young lady from Texas.
If you would just allow me a moment to put something on the record, I didn't know if you were closing at this time, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so very much. Thank you all so very much. This has been powerful and instructive to all of us who represent HBCUs. I do want to just reassert the nonprofit